Welcome back to Justified by Jury. This is Chapter 2 of the Unfortunate Demise series. In today's episode, we will be detailing the life of R&B singer Leah Labelle, her rise to prominence, and her unfortunate passing, and the even more unfortunate aftermath, and the lack of legacy left behind. If there are any artists you would like to see me cover in future episodes, please let me know in the comments section below. Let's get started. Leah Labelle Wladowski was born on September 8, 1986, in Toronto, Canada. Her parents were prominent singers and entertainers in Bulgaria and Eastern Europe during the 1970s. They made rock music along with her uncle, but in 1979, they would end up leaving Bulgaria and immigrating to Canada, where Leah would be born, and then eventually to Seattle, becoming naturalized in both the US and in Canada. Naturally, Leah would acquire similar talents, and after being inspired by her parents, she would begin performing with them at the age of 5 years old, singing on stage during their tours. At 11 years old, she joined the Total Experience Gospel Choir after being inspired by Lauryn Hill's performance in Sister Act 2. While performing in the choir, she became interested in gospel and soul music. She would travel singing alongside this gospel choir at many different events and functions, even being part of the Black Nativity musical for 5 years straight. But it was apparent that singing wasn't her only talent. Leah definitely had the looks and would end up participating in several beauty pageants. In 1997, she won the Washington State Preteen Miss America pageant and was the first runner-up in the national pageant. Moreover, she had an eye for the show business as well. In 2000, she became part of the WAM network reality show Caught in the Middle for 2 years. But ultimately, singing was her first love. And in 2002, she won the grand prize at the KUBE 93.3 Summer Jam Idol and performed the opening act at Summer Jam 20, which headlining acts included Usher, Nelly, Mario, LL Cool J, Da Brat, and others, and would also include Jermaine Dupri, who we will get to later in this episode. After all this success, she figured it was time to try her hand at the big leagues. And in 2003, she would audition for the 3rd season of American Idol. It just so happened that her mom had surprised her with a trip to New York for her birthday, which just so happened to be the same date as the audition. So she decided during that trip to go and audition. During her audition, she would perform Whitney Houston's I Believe in You and Me, and she wowed the judges, for sure, especially Paula Abdul.
Well, as far as I can see, you will always be the one.
They couldn't believe that such a powerful, supreme voice would come from such a cute, petite, young individual. She was a junior in high school, and out of 70,000 contestants, she would become one of the 32 semifinalists, eventually making her way down to the top 12. She was initially eliminated in the top 30, but Paula Abdul took special interest in her and chose her as the wildcard selection to advance to one of the 12 finalists. During her appearances on American Idol, she would perform songs like the theme from Mahogany by Diana Ross, I Have Nothing by Whitney Houston, Let's Stay Together by Al Green, and Young Hearts Run Free. After her cover of You Keep Me Hanging On by the Supremes, she would be eliminated, unfortunately, and would be the first of the contestants to be sent home, placing 12th in the overall season. Looking back on her time on American Idol, she said that at 17, she was far too young at the time and not as developed enough as an artist. She was significantly younger than pretty much everybody on that season. She would state that at that time, Idol was in its prime and the entire nation was watching. It threw her into a world of red carpet events, press, and media, and it was crazy. Now, she managed to learn a whole lot about herself during that time and the music business. She was thankful that she didn't win, and she was up against singers like Jennifer Hudson and Fantasia, who would go on to win that season. She didn't really stand much of a chance, let's just be honest. But when she was voted off the show and went back to high school, she learned really quickly that not everybody's always happy for your success, and the quote-unquote friends that she had definitely turned on her. It was really hurtful. But it's awesome to see just how far she did come, and it would only be a preparation for what was next. She would cover the Stylistics' Betcha, By Golly, Wow, for the season 3 soundtrack, and one of the reviewers praised Labelle as surprisingly strong and mature, writing that the studio brings out colors in her voice that she didn't display on stage. It would be this critique right here that would foretell the future for Leah Labelle, as that same year she would record a few Christmas songs for a few compilation albums, one being Christmas Time for the charity album Christmas in the Northwest. Wanting to take her solo artistry and music career seriously, in 2005, she pursued a management contract with Sixborough Entertainment of NYC and recorded a demo with Tavarius Polk, who had worked previously with Aaliyah on her song Never Given Up, and had recorded a number of demos with Grammy Award-winning producer Andreo Heard, who goes by the name Fanatic. Now, Andreo became interested in Labelle after watching a video of her performance in the Total Experience Gospel Choir. Now, she had sent a few demos recorded with him to several different record labels, and she decided that her style was going to combine R&B and pop music. She explained that she wanted to bring real music back, but make it marketable and mainstream. To her, real music isn't everything being synthesized or computerized. She had a voice on her, y'all. A soulful voice, and she wanted to let that shine through the beats. She wasn't big on the auto-tune sound being pushed heavily at that time. Unfortunately, the contract that they were offering her was too binding, and it was too much for too little. Even Andreo Heard said that the business side of the industry prevented him from working any further with her, although the two had great chemistry together. At this time, she was attending Berklee College of Music in Boston. She decided to move to Los Angeles at 21 to pursue music full-time. Around this time, YouTube was quickly gaining momentum and becoming the fast new outlet for singers to basically express their talents and showcase what they have to offer. So she would end up creating a YouTube channel because all of her fans on MySpace at the time were wondering, hey, is there anything new from you? We haven't seen you since American Idol. Do you have a contract? Like, what's going on with you? Can we really get in touch with you? We need to hear you sing. And so YouTube became her avenue to showcase her talents.
You know, because I was recording and I was trying on my own to start putting music out, but in the midst of that, there was silence from me. So I wanted my fans and the people who did support me from that time to still know that I was alive and I was still singing. So that's where the YouTube videos kind of came from. It was just more an outlet for me to sing and let people know that I was still doing music.
She would do an array of covers of different artists, showcasing her vocal range, exploring her vocal ability, and just showing different things that she was capable of, and allowing her fans to see that she's still here. She is still passionate about her music, that she is still wanting this, and is still going full throttle with it. And YouTube really became a great avenue for her to be able to express that. However, it would be her cover of the song Energy that would garner attention by R&B singer Carrie Hilson. Carrie Hilson would end up bringing Labelle on as a background singer during her tours. Labelle said, "She brought me along with her and allowed me to see into the industry a little bit deeper than I already had with American Idol." Her connection with Carrie Hilson put her in a bit of a spotlight. She would make appearances in different videos, and after hearing her sing background for Carrie Hilson, other R&B artists wanted her to sing background for them as well, to include Robin Thicke and Jordan Sparks. Now, when Leah sang background for Jordan Sparks, she was opening up for the Jonas Brothers and Britney Spears. So she was able to kind of make connections with even the pop world as well as the R&B world. In 2008, she sang at Quincy Jones' 75th birthday party at Northwest African American Museum. Eric Benet was particularly fond of Leah Labelle. She had sang backup for him on one of his tours, and when he became the opening act for Fantasia's Back to Me tour, Labelle was his backing vocalist, and she would perform duets with him as part of his set list, gaining her much attention, more attention than she had received in quite a while. Even with the enormous amount of doors that YouTube had clearly opened up for Leah, the best was still yet to come, as Pharrell Williams had been watching her YouTube and had been eyeing her for a few years, when finally he said enough was enough. He noticed how her voice, coupled with her looks, just gave her great star quality and a great star power. But ultimately, it was the way that she connected with the camera that really won him over. In his mind, it was almost like, why isn't Leah Labelle already famous? If you don't get your behind over here in this TV screen and on these albums where you belong. With this in mind, he decided to contact another well-known producer by the name of Jermaine Dupri, who Leah had previously been on tour with, and said, hey, check this woman out. What you think about her? And Jermaine is like, we need to sign her like ASAP. So they both ended up contacting her through YouTube and then on Twitter. After linking up, she would end up signing a record deal with Epic Records in partnership with Pharrell Williams' I Am Other and Jermaine Dupri's So So Def recordings as a joint venture.
You signed to Epic.
Yes.
You signed to I Am Other.
Yes.
And So So Def
Yes.
at the same time. How are you gonna make some money?
I'm gonna make money.
There's a lot of people taking money out here. Like, God damn.
While this was great and exciting news, this would also prove to be a catch-22 for her down the line. For one, she had very little say-so in her promotion, and when it came to the direction of where her career trajectory would take, it would be up to 4 or 5 different parties before she had any say-so. Yet and still, she was just so excited and so thrilled to finally have her chance at a solo deal. She was going to take any avenue that she could to make it happen. After waiting for so long, she was ready to go. She was fierce. She had the talent, the capability, the looks, and most importantly, the drive. She was hungry. She was going to go out there and get it. So on May 1st, 2012, Leah Labelle released the 5-track sampler called Pharrell Williams and Jermaine Dupri Present Leah Labelle, which was distributed to record companies and made available on her SoundCloud account. She would make several appearances through Wrap Up, on 106 & Park, and a host of other different platforms, donning a very similar look to her previous mentor, Carrie Hilson, who had all but abandoned the music industry at that point. Carrie basically told her, look, have at it, and so she did. The first single to be released was a song called Sexify. It reached a position of number 3 on the bubbling under R&B hip-hop singles. It went on to peak at number 89 on the Hot R&B Hip-Hop Songs Billboard chart. Sexify later peaked at number 23 on the Adult R&B Songs Billboard chart. The song was also included on Love and Hip Hop Atlanta. Her digital sales increased by over 500% when the video was featured on BET's 106 & Park Countdown. Critics loved the throwback elements to 90s music featured in the song, but ultimately praised her vocal talent and ability. Again, it was a shock to so many people to see this young, pretty, petite white woman with such a huge, soulful voice. It was very reminiscent of her friend and peer JoJo, who would also make an appearance in the song's music video, along with features from Pharrell Williams and Jermaine Dupri themselves in the music video. You can tell that they were really pushing her and really trying to promote her. Other songs from the EP that would be promoted was the song So Hot, which would go on to be featured on Cosmopolitan's Epic Records playlist, which is the first time that I personally would hear of Leah Labelle, because I actually had that playlist. And that song So Hot, when I first heard it, I loved it. I loved her vocals. I loved how she sounded. I loved the music. And it was just something so refreshing, kind of throwback-like. It was just so nice to hear real talent that wasn't heavily pop, heavily EDM, heavily auto-tuned out. And I just remember that song specifically taking me aback. I actually went to look her up thinking that I was listening to a black woman. I'll just be honest with you. It was just so soulful. Her voice, she falls into a category that would be described as blue-eyed soul or ivory music, which is basically artists like Tina Marie, John B, and Lisa Stansfield basically singing hits that you think are by black artists, and sure enough, these people are as white as daylight, but they can sing, y'all. They can sing, and Leah Labelle definitely could sing. It didn't matter where she was. You put a mic in front of her, she could be in a room full of 5 people. If they say sing, she sings, and she sounds just like the record, even better. Another song that was slated to be released as a single from the EP was a song called Mr. Scissors, and she apparently did a video shoot for the song as well. However, the video would never see the light of day. Now, Leah would go on to perform at the Soul Train Awards in 2012 with a spirited medley alongside artists like Anthony Hamilton, Charlie Wilson, and even her American Idol co-star, Fantasia. She ended up winning the 2012 Centric Soul Train Award that year. She would go on to perform at sold-out festival tours around the world, from Hong Kong to Spain to a packed house at the Essence Music Festival in New Orleans. I mean, Leah was on fire, doing what she loved, making waves, surprising everybody, and you could tell she got a kick and a thrill out of seeing everybody's faces when she would walk out onto the stage, wondering what this white woman is going to do, what she's capable of, and then belting out those soulful vocals and supreme dance moves, and just being an all-around dope entertainer. And everybody, by the end of the show, clapping along, singing along, just having a great time, just like she knew that they would. And she won the audience over every single time. I mean, she was doing things that people can only dream of. She was in anticipation of her full album release, which would feature half the songs being produced by Jermaine Dupri and half the songs being produced by Pharrell Williams. Brian Michael Cox would come in every now and again and put his touches on a few things as well. However, when it came time to get more details on when the album would be released or a name for the album, the label just kept kind of pushing it off, saying, hey, go do a few more performances for us and we'll get back to you. And she happily obliged. She would make an appearance in Pharrell Williams' Happy music video, which broke a record as the longest music video ever for being the first one of its kind to be a 24-hour music video. And then the label decided, hey, it's about time for you to put out another music video. So rather than release the video for Mr. Scissors, they were like, nah, we need a whole new track. So she would release the song Lolita, which would go on to do even better than Sexify on the charts, even though it was promoted a lot less. It ranked at number 7 on the Dance Club Billboard chart in the US. Internationally, it peaked at number 264 on the official Top Hit Airplay chart. She sang an acoustic version of this song on Wrap Up and performed the original versions at various venues such as the New York Fashion Week and Club Skirt's Dinah Shore Weekend. Now, this song, Lolita, is probably her best song. It displays her best vocal performance along with the beats. Everything about this song suits her. You could tell that she took this joint and just made it her own. Unfortunately, it didn't do as big as the label had hoped that it would. And this is where things kind of take a downward spiral for Leah. You would think that with her being on top of the world, that the only way from here is up, right? You would think that at this point, she would just hop into a rocket and take off. And that's what everyone thought. But unfortunately, there was a little bit of a disconnect with her and the music industry in and of itself. And the only way I can explain this disconnect is as follows, okay? Sometimes when you have an artist that is so good, I mean, they are a triple threat. They can sing, they can dance, they look so good, everything is great, they give 110% every single time. Sometimes, right, there is little to no room for vulnerability, or at least that's how it comes across. And this can unfortunately translate as the artist's image coming across as a little more intimidating rather than relatable to some audiences and even to the marketplace in general. And it sounds ridiculous, I know, but that's how it can be sometimes, especially with her being so humble, so full of grace, and so ready and willing to make an impact. Sometimes these record companies look at artists like these and they're like, you know what, you would be a dope vocal coach, or you would be really good on Broadway. Sometimes if the artist comes across as a little too sophisticated, especially in the beginning, the music industry almost doesn't really know what to do with said artist. A lot of times they want somebody a little more malleable, a little less sophisticated, someone who they can take more advantage of. Leah Labelle was a singer. I mean, she could sing.
Is this just a silly game that forces you to act this way?
But like L.A. Reid put it best, this isn't the singing industry. It's the music industry. This isn't the singing business. It's the music business. And with business, there's always politics. A lot of times, the chips fall where they may, and it's luck of the draw. That's just the system, and that's just how it is. And I think this is where the disconnect came in with Leah Labelle. Also, at the time in which she was making waves, which was from 2012 to 2014, there was a bit of a shift in the music industry in general. You know, songs were either hella EDM played out or extremely like trap music was taken off. So Leah kind of fell in between the cracks, and she wasn't the only one. You had other artists like Elle Varner, who this happened to. Jasmine Sullivan became a huge victim of this. You just had other artists that were coming out around this time, and I know Jasmine had been out for a couple of years, but even Carrie Hilson herself noticed how wishy-washy this industry was and how certain artists with the best vocals, the best voices get pushed to the side for somebody who the industry may seem as more marketable. And you would think that someone like Leah, who had all the looks, had everything, would be pushed to the forefront, but even she herself was kind of shunned to the background. And even R&B in general, if you weren't auto-tuned out, your music was taking a back seat at this time. That's just how things were going. So with all of this being said, for some reason, I don't know who dropped the ball at her label, but between Epic, So Def, and I Am Other, they just pretty much stalled out. And her album was just shelved indefinitely. And it was so unfortunate because she had all the talent in the world and she doesn't have anything to show for it because they're not wanting to push or promote her music. And to this day, not much is known as to why the music got shelved. But in the meantime, while the different entities that she was under were taking their time to try to make up their mind on what they were going to do with her music, she got right to work being featured on other people's songs. She was featured on Brian Cross's single Shotgun and appeared in the music video. She provided background vocals for Nelly's 7th studio album, M.O. She was the opening act on JoJo's Agape tour and even appeared on JoJo's single Andre in the music video, and was also featured with JoJo on the hidden track Freak on Pharrell Williams' 2nd studio album, Girl. Around this time, she would meet and become romantically involved with NBA player Rasul Butler. The two immediately hit it off and were described as happy, loving people. They loved each other. His friends became her friends became his friends. He became like a brother to all of her friends, and they kind of had the relationship that most people would dream of having. It's the one that everybody's one big happy family, and those two loved each other. Rasul had a daughter from a previous relationship, and she looked at Leah as just an addition to her family, and the vibes were immaculate. They all really had extreme love for one another, and that is good to know that she had that. She at least found love and happiness in her relationship with him. She had the support of her friends, she had the support of her family, and they were kind of doing the damn thing. Now, while things were blossoming for her in her love life, things in her professional life, as far as her music career, did not at all go the way that she wanted it to go. She said there have been a lot of highs and lows along the way. The lows are really tough. I got to a place where I was drained. I started thinking that I was becoming someone I didn't know. I wasn't happy doing it anymore. I had lost the joy of music. It was an emotional roller coaster, and I was tired. But still, even through all of that, and even though she had to cry sometimes, she still remained resilient. She said that she's been on the journey to succeed with a full-on belief in herself and the gift that God gave her. Her journey is not like anyone else's. Her story will not be like anyone else's. Her talent is unique to her. And so she said you always got to stay ready. Even if nothing's happening, you can't slack. So she would still show up. She would still put on a brave face and would still go out and at least attempt to make her dreams happen. Even if it meant pushing against the grain from those who had control over her music. But by 2017, her hopes had pretty much been all but depleted. In February of that year, she would run into Andreo, an old-time friend, at a Grammy party. During their encounter, Andreo saw the smile on her face, but he could see through the charade. He could tell that her spirit was different. Her energy was very low. And she said that she had a lot of trouble in the industry. According to Andreo, that she went through this dark period in her life during that time. She wanted to make music that she couldn't get out for whatever reason. Now, it's unclear if she was still under contract. It's unclear if she was let go and was trying to find another record label. Not a whole lot of information on her status with labels has been made available to the public, so we can only speculate. But according to Andreo, you could tell that soul music was in her, and it was just a part of her. She had this gift, yet she had all but given up on the music industry. And I can only imagine how she must have felt, seeing people come in after her, taking off and accomplishing their dreams. Meanwhile, her music stalled and she had all the talent in the world. It had to be frustrating for her and other artists just like her. And you hear stories like this all the time, but you hope and pray to God that it won't be your story. I am bigger than this. I'm bigger than this thing that's happening to me. However, after years of just being shrugged off and not acknowledged, I mean, that stuff catches up to even the strongest of people. And according to Andreo, he could tell that it had caught up to Leah, and that her spirit was just crushed, and her belief in the music industry was just pretty much over at that point, and she had become a little bit resentful of it. Not only that, but her peers, JoJo was going through a similar thing with Blackground Records not releasing her music, and so she was having to go and re-record all of her music, all of her old hits, just to be able to own certain rights. And so she saw different hoops that very talented people are having to jump through, and it really depleted her spirit. It really did. And on January 30th, 2018, less than a year later, her and her boyfriend Rasul would go to the Pins bowling alley, a spot that they hit up quite frequently, and enjoy an evening with friends and loved ones for one final time. They would end up leaving the bowling alley at 1 a.m. on January 31st. At around 2:25 in the morning, they were both in Rasul's vehicle. He was driving his Range Rover down Ventura Boulevard, going 60 to 90 miles per hour in a 30 mile per hour zone, when he lost control of the vehicle and hit the curb, crashing into parking meters, causing the vehicle to flip twice before hitting the strip mall sign and coming to a rest. Both Rasul and Leah died instantly in the crash. It was a very gruesome scene. The audio of the crash can be found on YouTube. It was taken from a street camera not far from where the crash took place. It was an unfortunate ending to the life of such a lovely couple, and for Leah Labelle too. It would mark the end of an ongoing battle with trying to get her dreams out and trying to become the superstar that she knew she was meant to be. And it was so unfortunate. The family and friends, it left people so devastated, not just in the music world, but also in the NBA world, because Rasul had been a part of 8 different teams. Many celebrities paid their tributes to Leah Labelle and Rasul. Not only several people like Shaq, Charles Barkley, but also Nia Long, Jennifer Hudson, Fantasia, Jermaine Dupri, Pharrell Williams, all would take to social media to post their tributes for Leah. Of course, her close friend JoJo and Jordan Sparks, several people just in utter shock and disbelief. According to Rasul's close friends, they were not the type to be super lively, partying, wilding out, acting crazy on the road. These were more reserved people. According to their friends, they would be the last couple that you would expect anything like this to happen to. So it was much to everyone's chagrin when the toxicology report came back stating that both Leah and Rasul had substantial amounts of alcohol in their system, along with a plethora of substances. You can look it up. But with this toxicology report, this has brought the actions of Rasul into question, the same way it brought Left Eye's actions into question on the fateful day of her accident. Many of Rasul's fans speculated whether or not this was intentional, On one hand, you had the argument across social media that the pair pretty much doped themselves up to brace for an impact that they were expecting. The point of the crash was just a mere 7 minutes drive from the bowling alley. What were they doing in the time between 1 a.m. and 2:25 a.m.? That point of time is unaccounted for. On the other hand, you had people stating that the gas pedal had gotten stuck in acceleration mode and that he couldn't do anything to control the situation, that the gear had pretty much got stuck. All they could do was just hold each other tight and be down for the ride because there was nothing that they could have done to save themselves. Whatever the case, you have the lives of two bright and brilliant people lost. Man, I remember when I first heard that accident, I saw the report that Rasul had died and that they were reporting them as married. They said his wife, Leah Labelle, and I was like, wait, Leah Labelle, I remember that name. And they said R&B singer, and so I immediately typed in Leah Labelle, and I was like, wait, that's the girl that sang the song So Hot. What? Are you serious? I didn't know she was, first of all, I was like, I didn't know she was married to anyone. Come to find out, her mother later disputed that, saying that they weren't married, that they were just, boyfriend and girlfriend. But it's just, oh man, so unfortunate. So unfortunate. And then even in the aftermath of her legacy, they still dropped the ball. Brian Michael Cox, who she had worked with, and Jermaine Dupri would end up releasing 2 tracks in her honor on SoundCloud, one of them being called Stereo. You can go listen to that on SoundCloud. The same month, Andreo Heard had expressed interest in making his unreleased music with her and the demos that he had done available to the public, which, from my understanding, still have yet to be released. However, her family did come together along with Pharrell, Meaty Jones, Sam Hook, and Tom Strail to include a few demos that she had done with them, and they put together a posthumous EP called Love to the Moon, which was released on September 7th, 2018, just a day before what would have been her 32nd birthday. And it was 5 songs, and the EP is available on all streaming platforms. A trailer for the EP was released to Leah's Vivo account, and it's very somber, it's very sad. It shows her performing at different stages in her life. You get the feeling from this video that she is going to take off and become a superstar. She's been an underdog for so long, and she's going to have her moment to just take flight and just be this massive supernova, if you will. And unfortunately, that moment never really came, at least not in the way that she would have wanted for it to happen. But she might not have been all that happy with how things played out, but I will say that she was a star to those who knew her. She was a star to her friends, her family. She lit up the room when she walked in. She was just this force, this presence, this fierceness, and she will forever be missed. She will forever be missed, and I hope that she knew just how much she was loved and appreciated, even if it was not on the supernatural scale that someone like a Rihanna or Beyonce or someone massive might have achieved. She still achieved a lot, and her accomplishments were great. According to one of her friends, Shining Ray, on Instagram, one of the songs on the EP, called Orange Skies, was taken from a voice memo that she had recorded. It was an acoustic recording, and that song, y'all, is so beautiful, like it'll make you cry. Oh my god. But apparently Shining Ray had this in her possession, and she decided to send the song to several of Leah's close friends and family members, and even gave it to JoJo the day before JoJo was scheduled to sing at Leah's memorial service. And so the fact that it ended up being on the EP, I mean, it is very special, it's very heartfelt, and y'all go listen to that EP. Like, I'm here to tell you, this woman, she had the gift, and I cannot stress it enough. She had the gift, and that's what kind of hurts the most, is that we were robbed of so many other things that she could have blessed us with. There was a song that she was really excited for the public to hear the official release of, which was called Box Chevy. She had performed this song several times at concerts. It became a fan favorite. It was supposed to be on the album. The album never got put out. There were a host of remixes for her Lolita single that were put out through social media and SoundCloud and on streaming platforms. Those have been taken down. So in the wake of her legacy, the only thing that is available were her singles Sexify, Lolita, this EP that friends and family came together to produce. From that, we have a very limited discography from her. So if you really want to hear her voice, listen to these few songs that are available, but then also go and check out her YouTube covers. This woman was phenomenal, and it's been 5 years since her untimely demise, but man, I really wish that we could get some justice for Leah Labelle. Now, even though the record companies and people who are in charge of her music, her commercial releases, may have dropped the ball, they might not give a damn. They might be, stingy with what they want to release. Thankfully, her family has kept her memory alive. Proceeds of her EP were donated to a scholarship in her name, a $10,000 scholarship that her mother provided under her name to a University of Southern California student with an art major. So they try to keep her legacy alive and her memory alive, and she would just want you to chase your dreams. There's actually on social media a common quote that gets posted around from Leah Labelle from different people, and I don't know if they realize that it's her that they're posting this quote, but this is a very famous quote by her.
Work hard for what you want because it won't come to you without a fight. You have to be strong and courageous and know that you can do anything you put your mind to. If somebody puts you down or criticizes you, just keep on believing in yourself and turn it into something positive.
In addition to this, Leah also said, if you are pursuing your dream, you must be insanely passionate about it in order to stay sane. But also understand that it won't be easy, and nobody from the outside will ever understand how hard you are working in the silence. But always remember that you are going to be fine no matter what you're going through. You are going to survive, so let time do its thing. Another way y'all can keep Leah's memory alive is to pursue your passions, be fervent, make strides, go out there and make it happen, live your best life, and live it to the fullest. Like Leah would want you to do that. This is Justified by Jury. Now y'all know how to hit that like. Y'all know how to hit that subscribe. If you want to, do so. I'll see y'all on the next one. Peace.